lot of rugby, but always remember when you went under 14 is when you started playing 15-a-side rugby, and my first 15-a-side coach was John Best, which was Rory's dad. So obviously Rory would have been down at training, and because he was at the college, he wouldn't have played a whole lot of games for Banbridge, but occasionally if they didn't have a game, you would have played together. So always knew of him growing up, and obviously knew John, and obviously just as his career took off, kept a very close eye on it because he plays the same position that I played as a hooker, so he was always very keen to see how he went, and you know, to see that the career he had was just phenomenal. Like, Sarah took the call, and then I was out working, and Sarah rang me and said, "Here, Cancer Fund for Children have been on. Rory Best's doing, you know what walk he's doing? Yeah, seen that advertised, yeah. Well, they want to know if we want to go down." And I said, "Oh, happy days, you know."
We'll be seeing you later on, won't we?
I'm not sure what the format of the plan is, so yeah, just go with it.
I suppose I kind of knew Adam a little bit because I played rugby with Adam's dad when we were very, very young down at Banbridge. So that news sort of had reached us before that. And I think probably when we spoke to them that day, and Joe did spoke, they were a family that very much felt that, oh no, we're not sure we want to come here. And it was only whenever they arrived here they realised how special it was. But I think walking with him was just, it's the attitude that Jodie was talking about that the kids have. You know, they were trying to be quite protective of him, to go, well look, you know, it's quite a distance to do the lap through Newcastle. And honestly, I think if they hadn't basically grabbed him and taken him off the road, he would have been right into the Canal Court in Newry with us. Adam, what shirt did you get on? Is that the Lions?
No, this is his own shirt.
Oh, is this your own? Oh, I like that.
That's Be Positive. I like that.
Oh, that's
really
good.
Why is it called Be
That's
Positive?
your top.
Yeah.
Because I want to get a cord blood transplant, and my blood was once so positive, but then it changed to
Be.
Yes,
it was all it went to be.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll have to get myself one of those shirts. I like that.
That's his merch. He likes to call. He's got his own merch.
Yeah, he does.
Don't you?
Absolutely.
But yeah.
Can they do them in my size?
And Adam and Rory basically just kept walking at the front, and I occasionally would have went up and said, you know, Adam, are you okay? Do you want to get into the car? And at the start it was a pleasant, no, I'm fine. But by the 12th time it was, Dad, you're embarrassing me, leave me alone. So Adam ended up walking, I think it was just over 5 miles. That first wee loop from Daisy Lodge in around Newcastle and back to Daisy Lodge, and he spent the full 5 miles with his new friend Rory. Just going through Newcastle, obviously Tag Furlong had jumped in, and again I was going up to check on him, and Adam was like, seriously? And I was like, this is a little boy that had just come home from a transplant 2 months previous, and you're going, hey, I'm starting to feel it in my legs here. Like,
This is one of my good friends that I
front row, right?
I know. He's a bit bigger than me, isn't he?
They are a family that watch a bit of rugby because David played with me years ago, and you know, to follow it and to walk with, and for people like Tag Furlong to come up, because he'd come up from Wexford that day as well, you know, to come up and to see the difference that the couple of minutes him walking with Adam made to his family and all of that, it was incredible. And to see Adam kind of grow into that, he's not someone that was ever shy of speaking and telling stories, and very, very engaging. But at the start it's a lot, you know, for a young kid to do this, and the thought of walking, and by the end of it, from kind of walking up and waving, and he had the t-shirt on or the rugby jersey on with his own branding on it and all of that, and just sort of, I just loved that bit of it. That was a really, really special bit, because we know the family so well, but also because you could see how much he really, really enjoyed it, and you sort of, in that point in time, you feel that you've made a bit of a difference to somebody.
And I remember speaking to Rory after it and saying, that must have been a long couple of hours for you. You know, because you're talking to an 8-year-old kid the whole way around. And he says, he was brilliant. He says, we talked about everything. We talked about Star Wars, we talked about shooting, we talked about Roblox, we talked about everything. We talked about presidents. Yeah. And I said, yep, that sounds about right. And yeah, and we've spoke to Rory and Jodie since that, and I've thanked him for the way he spoke with Adam, and he had time for him, because many's another person could easily have walked the first wee bit with Adam and then sort of maybe got talking to somebody else. But Rory, it was very much, it was him and Adam that morning, and that stood out for me, and it stood out for us. We have talked about it regularly, and still would do, about how Rory Best spent the time and took the time to walk with Adam for that entire 5 mile or whatever.
My favourite part of it is, as David says, Adam didn't like sport, and his quote of the day has to be, "I don't like sport, but I made friends with Rory best." And that's how he viewed that day. He made a friend. I think it probably has to be one of his best memories, you know. And as I say, we never stayed in Daisy Lodge, but it provides such a special memory to us, and I think it just shows that even if you don't avail of the service within the lodge, the charity provides so much outside it. You know, we can't thank, you know, the people that come to the house, you know, that worked in Adam's feelings and emotions. Like, we couldn't have paid anybody the money that the result we got from Adam. You know, the fears and the worries that Adam had were basically dissolved away simply because Cancer Fund for Children came out and spent time with him. You know, we got him to Daisy Lodge for Rory's walk. And he walked into that place like he owned it. He had a good nosy, is the only way I can really describe it. And he called it beautiful. "Mummy, this place is beautiful."
Described it like a hotel.
It is like a hotel, Mummy. It is so nice. I can remember saying to him, "Do you like it here?" And he says, "Yes, Mummy, it's lovely." And we said, "Well, would you like to stay here sometime?" "Yes, I would like to stay here." And I says, "Right, well, that's okay. If you want to stay here, we will come back and we will stay here." And that was the September. And in the October, Adam was sick again. And he never got.
They're a really brilliant family, and walking with them, and obviously since that, having the news that Adam had passed away, and it was how long he'd battled summed him up. But then when probably what sums up Adam is the fact that a few days post the news that he'd passed away, they were having the 24-hour walk around Craigavon Lakes. Sort of the family, I think some of David, the dad's family, was sort of organising it and running it, and then to hear that they were over 200,000 they raised, and that sort of shows the connection that these kids bring. That actually, when they sort of take this fight on, that everyone around them give them the support they need, and that it affects everyone. And actually, Adam's legacy will be the sort of person he was, but that personality infected people, and that's why so many people turned up and so much money was raised.
That was a big day because prior to that, I, if I'm being totally honest, was a wee bit reluctant to do another walk because the first walk was so successful. And I was like, oh no, but what if it's not, you know, successful, or like, because you'd got so much out of it. Then we came here and speak for Adam's mum and dad to present the cheque and to the charity, and when they talked about how Adam then, you know, anyone who would listen, he talked about walking with his friend Rory on the walk, and I was like, you know, the walk is not about what we get out of it, you know, it's not, we don't need to put ourselves under any pressure for it to be bigger or better, because the amount of people you can touch, you know, the difference it makes to their lives. So like, it's for like families like Adam, that's why we need to walk again, so that the more families we can touch and help, and you know, that's why it has to happen again.